But look, I've been in real estate since I was 19, so over 25 years I've been representing property, 50 suburbs actually, over 200 plus families in Western Australia find the right home for them, as well as help represent those homes for the seller well. So I think I'm not going to sell myself this morning, I'm really going to sell the point that I have found over the decades that I've been in real estate that the value proposition that sustainable homes have in the marketplace is increasing, and we've got some awesome recent research that I want to share with you today, because it's all good and well that I can preach and be biased because selling to consumers such as yourselves, I know that people pay for this because that's my experience, but it's good to see it elsewhere. So I am also the founder of Green Gurus, and what we do at Green Gurus, we've got a whole bunch of sustainability experts and passionate people like the people here today who stand in front of real estate agents. They actually get CPD points. It's a partnership with the Real Estate Institute of Western Australia, and we've been doing this for the last 12 years, is basically better inform fellow real estate agents about what these features are, what to look for when they're appraising property for sale or for rent, and being able to then value them. To value something is to actually appreciate its value. So therefore, a real estate agent who's better informed about communicating these benefits actually gets that value across to the buyer base or the potential tenant. So that's something that we'll discuss now. I've got about sort of 10 to 15 minutes, and I'll run through this pretty quickly. We saw Jimmy's house. That's an excellent representation of good quality design, good quality build, and also a small lot with a small home. It's very saleable. Now, he built this as a forever home, so he's told me it's very unlikely he'll be selling it. So that's the kind of home that we love to represent at Community West Real Estate, which is the name of my business. But it's more about what a home, a better quality home does for the occupant. So what does the home do for the occupant? This is a great little infographic. It's all about the livability of that home. You'll see, if you can, some of the features that the crew here have demonstrated today, the solar passive design features like orientation, ventilation, dense materials, but it's actually the fact that it actually does this for, if you can read that off the screen, for the occupants. So it offers natural heating and cooling without putting on your mechanical systems, such as your air conditioning systems. And what we're finding too is that a lot of consumers actually they prefer fans than air conditioning systems in their homes. And I think that's also something to point out here. It doesn't have to have air conditioning in every room for it to be a quality home, because that's actually representing the opposite, in my opinion. But it's really about the livability of those features for occupants and being able to comment about that. This particular brand here, the livability, it's actually a secondary training opportunity for real estate agents in Australia. The CSIRO own the livability specialisation, and anyone can do the specialisation. You can go online and actually do that training. It's an online 8-hour, on average, training exercise for you to actually learn about what those features are, the orientation and the like, the solar passive design features, and also the whole point about the livability specialisation is to arm real estate agents with the ability to assess and then communicate through marketing material. So if you're looking for a real estate agent who is able to point out those points of difference in terms of sustainable features, the livability specialisation is a really good asset to have as part of their serviceability, if you like, to your to selling, or if you like, putting that property on the market for rent. And this particular report, I'm going to show you 3 reports. This one was the most recent one out of the Climate Council, the Australian Climate Council. They did this research, and what they're finding is that a 7-star rated home, a fully electric, or if we call them electrified home, which means that there's no gas connected to that house, in Perth, actually is saving, a 7-star home is saving around $340 per annum on electricity, bills alone specifically for heating and cooling than a 6-star. So we've talked about, it's been mentioned that the National Construction Codes in Australia are looking at moving from a 6-star minimum standard to a 7-star. Just by moving 1 star up in terms of the design of that build, there are actual now cost savings defined. Now $340 might not seem like a lot, and we shouldn't really focus necessarily on the cost savings. It's also about the comfort level, the health level. But if you look at $340 just on heating and cooling alone, times by the number of years that you're in that house, it does add up significantly. If you live in Broome, those cost savings that they identified were around just under $1,000. So $340 for a typical Perth home, and about $1,000 in Broome because they have more extreme weather. But the other really important thing is health implications. I mean, my son does suffer, he's 7 years of age, from asthma at certain times of the year. And I suppose a home that's been designed with a good flow of air movement, so cross ventilation and natural sunlight to sort of help reduce, I suppose, mildew or mould inside the house is actually a really, really good thing and it has an impact on the health of occupants. And we do need to consider that. It's not just cost, but it is health. Moving on to the value proposition. So these are, we all know realestate.com, and we probably all know Domain. In Western Australia, we also have Reiwa.com. These are websites that we all go to when we're looking at buying a house or renting a house. It's basically the go-to. Now these two groups actually have their own internal researchers, and it's a research hub, if you like. They look at what factors affect the marketplace. So we've had COVID affect the marketplace. We all know how much spectacularly that prices have increased over the last 18 odd months, and they have assessed COVID. They've looked at how that's impacted consumer sentiment. They've also done some research in interest rate hikes that we've seen just happen in the last couple of months, and there's research around that in terms of what people are looking at and why they're paying more, or what they're looking at choosing in terms of their homes. But this particular research is focused on energy efficiency, so sustainability. And what they found in these two studies, the most recent is the Domain one, which was published just last month, is that people are actually choosing to find homes that have sustainability features over all others. So they're finding that the impact of energy efficient features, or if you like, they've got a very huge algorithm search engine that picks up what people are actually putting in their search as search results, so keywords, and they're finding that these homes that have more energy efficient features or sustainability features are actually lasting on the market less, they're selling faster basically, they're on the market for less time, and they're getting more hits. So a lot more people are searching for a variety of energy efficient or sustainability features on Domain specifically. And the other secondary outcome, which I thought was quite significant and why I want to show it to you, is what is the price premium being paid? And you'll see over the last 4 years, 2019 to 2022, between houses and units, the price difference people are prepared to pay has increased, but you're looking at about $125,000 for as a difference in price paid for homes that have these features, and the percentage difference that looks like. So obviously this is Australia-wide. This research report does identify state by state, so that's something you can investigate. I've put in the link there for you to be able to look into that a little bit further. But units also have increased in terms of the percentage paid at point of sale. And that's just in the last 12 months. That research work is over 12 months, but published last month. This one I wanted to share with you is probably globally significant when it was done back in 2008. But what the Australian government wanted to do is find out if people are prepared to pay and what is that price premium paid at point of sale or lease. And for those that don't know, in Australia, there is no requirement at point of sale or lease to give you a certificate saying what the actual energy performance is of that home, except for the ACT. So in the ACT, the government there mandated that when you buy or sell, you would be informed of what the energy performance would be, and that's in a star rating. And that's why they were able to define over a longitudinal study what sort of value that represented. And what the original study, global significant study, found in 2008 is that people would pay around 3%, or just under $9,000 at the time, more per star. 10 years later, which was published only a few years ago, the University of Melbourne also did an assessment of the sales data for a longer period of time for the ACT, and it reconfirmed that people are paying more by, if you like, if you're looking for a 7-star home, the 7-star home would achieve just under 10% more, which is really quite significant. That backs up the most recent research coming out of Domain, which gets in terms of buyers and potential tenants. It backs this original data up. But then if we move to the realestate.com.au, which is probably the more favoured go-to website for buying and selling, they did their own report last year, and what they found was not only over 70% of people deem this information important at point of sale or lease, but they are understanding why. They understand that it actually reduces bill and reduces the impact or risk of bill shock from electricity prices. So people are very aware of a better performing property actually means less cost in their annual budget, their living costs. But they also not only see that as a cost saving, but they also want to do something in the environmental point of view. We all are becoming more environmentally conscious. And it is linked to our values, and I suppose the more informed we are, the more conscious we become about what we decide to buy, be it in the market, in the supermarket, in the aisles, or in our homes. And I suppose this is quite a good representation, again, of some studies that came out in 2016, just looking at what consumers, all of us are consumers, want, and we want this information at point of making a decision. Now, there is talk, and has been talk for the last decade, about making mandatory disclosure available across all jurisdictions, all states, and the energy ministers at the moment are considering that possibility. But if you look at it, when we buy a property, we report or a structural defect report if it's an aged or a non-strata building. Even with strata buildings, as a buyer's agent, I always advise my buyers to actually get that done. You pay a small fee, between $200 and $600 for each of these reports to better inform you about what you're buying into. And if those reports come back suggesting that there are defects or issues, there are ways for you to either get out of that contract or, of course, get the seller to do something about it. The same should be and can be for the energy performance of our homes. But as I said, that's not yet in place mandatory-wise, but certainly on a voluntary basis. Through our Green Gurus workshops, we are trying to help embed that thinking with fellow real estate agents to be able to get that information from lot owners so that they can relay the benefits. And it is all about the marketability. So it's great to say that, you know, these homes are actually getting more money, but unless the real estate agents know how to value it when they're taking people through your home, or when they're communicating the benefits or the differences that your home has over another, they really need to learn and be able to market it with confidence. This just gives you an example of some of the marketing detail that I give, and a lot of my fellow real estate agents, what you'd consider my competitors, I see as fellow real estate agents who I'm very keen to also be able to do this, because what it does is it just lifts the quality, I suppose, of our profession and our ability to service our clients better simply by knowing more about the homes that we represent. And I just want to land on this example again, Jimmy's house. It is extraordinary, and I just want to make this point from a real estate perspective, that he was able to build such an amazing home on such a small block, and it is possible. Now there's two things, some information on this property. I mean, if you look at the cost per square metre of building a good quality home, the Rawlinson's data, which is a building cost data, is a good place to go to. You can find that online. Most builders use it. But you're looking at about $2,700 is the standard general average cost per square metre of a fairly good quality home, but one that doesn't necessarily consider all those design features. A home like this, that's architecturally designed, that has the rooftop garden, that has double glazing, lots of glass, but that's been well designed, you're looking at about $4,000 a square metre. And that's information that was given to me by the architect. But also he's saving, his cost, his bills, just a point of view here, are static between $60 and $70 a month. Doesn't matter if it's peak winter, peak summer or not. His bills are averaging that, which is a hell of a lot less than the majority of our bills, the WA household bills. So I think it represents a really good cost saving, which potentially can pay for that upfront cost should you go for those extra building materials that have got, say, double glazing or the like. So I just really wanted to make that point.
There's also a big saving long term if you build a great house that costs more, because we on average sell houses, is it every 7 years or something in Australia, something like that. So if you live in a house for 20 or 30 years and you're not selling every 7 years and, you know, paying all the fees associated with the change,
yep,
there's a big saving there.
It's a very good point.
Yeah.
I mean, a forever home, which a lot of sort of people look at, especially ones that have got young families or are looking to have families, they want to stay in one place for at least 20 to 25 years. Homes like this, the ones that I hope that to see you design or build, will actually be as relevant, and I make this point, relevant just as it is now as it will be in 20 to 25 years, because you've thought through the passive solar design features that, I mean, even with a changing climate, it will still be a more comfortable, healthier and affordable home to live in. And that concludes really my little take on value and demand. Thank you.
If you've watched the first 3 videos, you've been through quite a journey. A journey showing you how the planning and development process is changing and what it means for you, the potential builder. It's probably a lot to take in, but the key message is this principle and this process has the potential to deliver some remarkable outcomes for you, your build, and of course, the community. Now, I can show you a suite of fancy builds and funky architectural vistas, but what does it really translate into as a return on your investment and as a step towards creating a more sustainable and resilient future for your community? Who better than someone who has made their entire living out of being able to sell such properties? From a real estate perspective, are these policy changes going to make a difference for people?
The leadership shown by the City of Vincent is awesome, because we do need to see better quality,
Yep.
more efficient, energy efficient homes in the marketplace. We're starting to see a lot more coming available, not just for sale but also for rent.
Yep.
And the whole point is it's a better quality home. So it's a much more saleable home because you're selling features like what we've seen at Jimmy's house, which
Yep.
you know, the
Yep.
2 properties we've seen today. It's all about a more comfortable, better quality home. And I think that does translate into
Yes.
the value that's paid when people consider, you know, parting with their money. They want a better quality home.
And to be and really just to enshrine this, that's what this policy is all about. So in a sense, it's helping mum and dads to have a house that's going to be much more comfortable to live in,
Yes.
and they know that it's going to be cheaper to run and it's going to sell quicker and at a higher price.
But also these homes last longer in the marketplace. You know, we tend to think a forever home, you know, is 20 to 25 years, but that home that is future proofed, is future ready, will last the 20, 25 years. It'll be just as relevant in 25 years time as it is today. And if we look back at extensive research over the last 10 years, primarily the ones that are coming out of Australia, and the studies that have come out of that to actually look at the value proposition, what are people paying? It's just under 10% more. People are paying up to 10% more for energy efficient homes that are around about 7-star.
And you were saying you wish that people could really understand how much is involved in running a badly designed home.
I mean, some of these homes, heating and cooling accounts to about 40% of our electricity bills.
Yes.
On average, across the board in West Australia, because these are 2-star on average homes.
So we're talking about the bad old days, the bad
Old days, but if we can just get to 7-star, which is now hopeful that most homes, the minimum standard will increase from 6 to 7,
Yep.
we will be living in homes that it's unlikely to need those air conditioning systems to keep them comfortable.
We live in a community that really strongly values sustainability. We see residents take up solar panels, water tanks, make changes around the home, whether it's their own native gardens, and really start to consider how their own home and the way that they design their home can help us be more sustainable as a community.
So I hope this series has helped guide, inspire and empower you to build better, to have the confidence to know that the principles of ESD are not only relatively easy to negotiate, but they will handsomely reward your commitment with a build or major renovation that is at once smarter, greener, cooler, and a great financial return on your investment. All of which will help to usher in a new era of resilience and sustainability in this extraordinary place that we call the City of Vincent. All the information you need on developing differently and creating your own inspired infill is on the City of Vincent website.